Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be giving you my Aries April 2018 horoscope forecast. And yes, this does apply and pertain to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Anyway, people, first thing off is, well, the Sun will be in Aries as far as April goes from the 1st until the 19th. And so the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Aries. So there could be a lot of attention, focus, concentration of energy into wanting to just to stand out and shine in general. There could be much increased stamina and vitality at this time, and also considering we're talking about the sign Aries, and it really could be this concentration of energy could be into being perhaps just exhibiting very strong leadership, aggressive, assertive, courageous qualities at this time, and really about very strong extemporaneous and spontaneous energy into new beginnings. And this is really, keep in mind too that Aries energy can also be combative and confrontational, so there could be a little bit greater propensity for perhaps to be more confrontational and just in general, but also could be connected with someone from your early childhood, but at the same time you could be very assertive and aggressive as far as new beginnings at this time and doing things for your physical body, especially if this is actually at your first house in your actual literal natal chart. So anyway, next thing up is, well, as far as April goes, the Sun will be in Taurus from the 19th until the 30th. So the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, for Aries, this could be a lot of concentration of energy, attention, focus into being very persistent, methodical, and deliberate, perhaps in things of a monetary nature, things that are associated with really maybe perhaps about your self-esteem, increasing self-esteem, perhaps in self-worth. Also, to it at the same time, Taurus energy could be very latent energy, and it could be used to do things that are second house related, such as accumulating possessions, generating income, things and really matters connected with your self-esteem and self-worth as well at this time, and things in what you value. This could be a lot of energy into things that are going to be very sustained, which you may value perhaps for some time. And anyway, and also too, when you're talking about the Sun in the second house, it's very careful, especially now, I mean, with Taurus, about, perhaps being overly possessive at this time of your own possessions, perhaps. So anyway, next thing up is, well, as far as April goes, I should say, the new moon, it will be in Aries on April 15th. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Aries. So at this time for Aries, well, this could be about perhaps embarking on something new with a lot of courage, fortitude, and assertiveness. And it could be connected with new beginnings at this time, given that we're talking about the first house. And also, it could be something too, with the physical body, especially if this is the actual first house in one's natal chart. And it could be doing something to improve the physical body, perhaps by doing something, Aries sports related, such as something combative in sports, like such as karate or boxing or wrestling, perhaps keeping the body perhaps in shape by doing that, but also connected with a new beginning. And it could also be a time too where maybe you might rekindle or even start a new connection with somebody that might be from your early childhood, which could be a Sun, Moon, or Ascendant in Aries, or simply somebody that may embody Aries-like characteristics. So, and new beginnings could be done perhaps with something new with it in a very impulsive and spontaneous manner as well at this time. And anyway, well, the next thing up is that looking at this, the full moon will be in Scorpio on April 29th. So the eighth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time for Aries, well, when you have a full moon, it could often be a time where you become tired or full or exasperated at something. It could be perhaps maybe getting tired and full of crisis and upheavals, perhaps in a sexual or intimate relationship you may be involved in, even power struggles connected with that. In some cases, this could be something where maybe a befuddling or baffling mystery might come to a close or culmination. It might be tied into a sexual partner, someone you're in an intimate relationship with. It could be something over taxes situation or insurance matter, or even something with inheritance. It could be a time where a conundrum like this may come to an end at this point, and it might have involved a lot of that Scorpio, like digging deep and probing, and really and a lot of extensive research. This could also be a time too when you're talking about Scorpio and the eighth house. This is a double emphasis, like Scorpio like energy. And it could be something where something that, a Scorpio eighth house related in general could have just come to a conclusion at this time. Something astrological related that maybe you had done for a sustained period, or something connected with the supernatural, the occult, or forensics, some kind of investigative work could come to a conclusion. And also too, this could be a time as well where something like a very powerful and very deep, I guess I would call non-superficial transformation might come to a completion or end at this time as well. And this could also be really very strong, really unleashing a lot of this powerful Scorpio-like emotions, very powerful, intense, sometimes convoluted, and it might be directed at perhaps it's somebody you're in an intimate or sexual relationship with, or somebody that might be tied into something eighth house like, such as inheritance, or somebody somebody in insurance or taxes perhaps. Anyway, the next thing up is, well, Mercury will be in Aries. So the first house will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Aries, well, Aries might be more loquacious, more talkative than usual, and very extemporaneous, perhaps and abrupt in speech. The talking might consist of Aries-like things, such as things associated with combat, being leadership, things that really about starting things, and really the ideas that are talked about might be very pioneering and original, and Aries might do a lot of talking about his or herself at this time. Also, at the same time, it's really some other things, to look at as far as this goes. You could be talking about taking action, and really, and perhaps with new beginnings as well. And there might be more conversations perhaps with people you knew from your early childhood than usual. But keep in mind, it will be retro until the 15th of April. So during that time, there might be a little bit more review prior to speaking. So anyway, next thing up is Venus will be in Taurus as far as April goes, from the 1st until the 24th. So the second house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, Aries may be at this time strongly about generating money, perhaps through laborious effort, and which could lead to greater self-esteem and self-worth. This could be a very strong period of enjoying tangible assets, which might make Aries feel better about themselves. Enjoyment of peace and tranquility and stability, which could be strongly valued at this time. If Aries is unattached, there's a possibility with this where Aries may meet somebody that may be a prospective significant other, that may be a Taurus sun, moon, or ascendant, or simply somebody that embodies those characteristics. And it could be somebody that plays a strong role in their self-esteem, self-worth, or even when whatever they're doing to generate income. So anyway, well, The next thing up is, as far as April goes, Venus will be in Gemini from the 24th until the 30th. So the third house is what will be emphasized and highlighted for Aries. So at this time, well, this could be about a lot of a love of versatility, dexterity, intellectual stimulation, and good conversation, perhaps connected with siblings, neighbors, and even people that you're involved with your daily communications with. I mean, this could be a time where you have an enjoyment perhaps of doing things of a dexterous nature, such as working on vehicles or doing some kind of refrigeration, mechanical work, and it could be you might be doing it perhaps for neighbors, for siblings, and it could be people that maybe you're involved in your short journeys as well. And this could be about a love, a very strong love of communications and in general. And I mean, being given that we're talking about the third house as well, and you're talking about Gemini energy, this is like a double dose of that communicative energy, so to speak. And it could also be in some cases where Aries, if you're unattached, you might meet someone that could be a prospective significant other, romantic partner that may be a sun, moon, or ascendant in Gemini, or simply somebody that embodies those characteristics. And it could be somebody that might be in your neighborhood or introduced to you by a sibling, someone that you may encounter in your short journeys. And sometimes too, remember there's duality with this where you're talking about Venus and Gemini, that energy is a greater propensity to perhaps be dating maybe two people simultaneously as well. So anyway, next thing up is, well, Mars will be in Capricorn, so the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Aries, well, this could be about a lot of serious, consistent, disciplined energy in career matters, maintaining one's reputation, public image. This could also be about really doing work connected with your career where you're working within the parameters, so to speak. There may be more arguments with the dominant parent, which is often the father, people in authority. It might be over government, politics, business. I mean, with this, the situation may be more contentious and acrimonious in general with that dominant parent, with people that are in authority as well, superiors. So anyway, but also this could be, looking at this at the same time, this could be where you put a lot of that energy and vitality into things of a 10th house nature, and it could be maintaining that reputation, matters connected with your career as well. And really, in being Capricorn, this could be a lot of that methodical, consistent, and disciplined energy at this time. So anyway, next thing up is Jupiter will be in Scorpio still, so the 8th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. It will be retrograde during this month as well. So there could be, I mean, there could be some luck and fortune, perhaps through making a very deep and profound, what I call non-superficial transformation. This is also could be about luck unveiling secrets that are perhaps connected with somebody that you're in an intimate or sexual relationship with. Also, at this time, you could be looking at this. This could be also about luck, and I mean, even when you're talking about retrograde, it's even more generating your own luck, more than usual, I would say, going beyond the superficial and subterfuge and matters connected with insurance, with the sexual partner and someone you're in an intimate relationship with. It even matters connected with an inheritance, perhaps. And anyway, and remember that being in retrograde, this could be a period perhaps of review of a profound, deep philosophy regarding something 8th house related, such as transformation and death. Next thing up is Saturn will still be in Capricorn, of course, so the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. It will go retro on April 17th. So anyway, this could be a period for Aries where it might be dealing with more limitations and restrictions and matters pertaining to one's career, their public image, matters with the father, or the dominant parent, which is often the father, and causing Aries to feel rather melancholy and despondent at this time. In some cases, too, this could be about taking care of somebody that might be debilitated and sickly, and it could very well be the dominant parent, which is often the father. It could be something Capricorn related, such as something with the knees or the bones. And given that we're talking about, I mean, this could be as well about perhaps some kind of government restrictions where Aries might feel somewhat prohibited because of this in matters connected with their career, and perhaps attaining maybe greater notoriety and status in the process. And really, too, this could be also about, really, given that it's going to be, as far as April goes, it will be in retrograde from the 17th until the 30th. There could be a very strong review over responsibilities during this time. And remember, when you're talking about a retrograde Saturn, this could often work where one may not necessarily be cognizant during this time of perhaps limitations or restrictions. So Aries needs to be careful, perhaps over expending too much energy in matters connected with one's career, dealing with issues with the dominant parent, which is often the father, because, I mean, when you're doing too much, of course, overexertion can take place. Next thing up is Uranus will be in Aries still. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Aries, well, this could be about a really Aries taking on maybe a more unusual, unorthodox appearance and outlook on life, perhaps maybe expressing more ingenuity and being more unconventional. Aries might change their appearance during this time and be maybe appearing more eclectic and really being really non-conforming in how they appear perhaps to others, something that might be, you know, shocking with the appearance. Keep in mind too, especially if this is hitting the first house, I mean, that Aries needs to be careful more too of perhaps getting an electric shock or some kind of electrocution during this time, given that Uranus is connected with electricity. So anyway, and also too, Aries might show in some cases, in some maybe remote or isolated cases, more maybe iconoclastic behavior, and a lot of this could depend on the aspects that Uranus is making, transit Uranus is making to other points in your natal chart. I mean, if it's making an adverse aspect to one's natal Jupiter, that could really perhaps intensify that maybe that propensity to do so, because Jupiter is connected with religion, or even an adverse aspect to Neptune, because Neptune could be about spirituality. So anyway, well, next thing up is Neptune. Speaking of Neptune, Neptune will still be in Pisces, so the 12th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Aries, this could be more about chaos, madness, and mayhem in one's private life at this time. In some cases, this could suggest a confounding or confusing mental illness could be going on in some isolated cases. Also, in some cases, alcohol, recreational drug use could lead to undoing. It could even be selling them could lead to perhaps some kind of imprisonment at this time. But on one positive note with this could also be about the dissipation and dissolving perhaps of hidden adversaries, but it could also make them unclear and obscure as well at this time. Also, this could be about doing something Neptune-like behind, really in private and seclusion and solitude, such as something with the metaphysical, which could include astrology, spirituality, photography, chemistry, something that may be mystical as well. And I mean, really, at this time too, this could be false prophets, could be hidden adversaries at this time as well. So be careful, Aries, at this time. Next thing up, Pluto will be in Capricorn still. So the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. At this time for Aries, well, I know a lot of you don't want me to say the dreaded D word, but of course you know I generally do it anyway because Pluto is connected with death, and this could be an indicator of an actual death, a literal death of the dominant parent, which is often the father, or somebody that might really, that could also be an authority figure or superior as well. And also at this time, there might be more upheavals and power struggles at this time in matters connected with your career. It could sometimes this could be about the obliteration or destruction of one's career, but it could also be when Pluto generally, if it destroys something, often there could be a rebirth and regeneration, and something could supplant it. This could be power struggles with the dominant parent, with authority figures. This could also be about perhaps obsession and being overly fixated on your public image, on your reputation at this time. So anyway, the next, and also remember that Pluto can be compulsive energy. So that could be something where you might see authority figure or dominant parent might be showing these qualities, or you might be showing maybe these qualities as well in matters that are connected with maintaining a reputation, public image, and maybe even your career to some degree. Anyway, next thing up is the North Node will still be in Leo. So the fifth house is what will be emphasized and highlighted at this time. So at this time for Aries, well, this could be about, I mean, when the North Node is in transit, this could often be about issues one may have to confront. And this could be about perhaps confronting maybe a child or romantic partner that might be overly domineering, flamboyant, arrogant, overbearing, and also too, this is about where you might be wanting to seek attention and notoriety and recognition more from your children, from a romantic partner, maybe in matters connected with your career endeavors, and this is something too about one where you might be wanting to take more pride and dignity in your creative endeavors, in your hobbies at this time, in the things that you do for enjoyment, and also really too, this is also about really confronting matters with children, with a romantic partner, with a lot of fortitude, courage, self-assuredness, and confidence. And it might also be perhaps this placement now might be connected with having to be a little bit more extravagant than usual in fifth house matters, and more generous in matters with children, with romantic partners. And also if there's some extravagance going on with matters with speculation such as gambling, those issues may have to be addressed at this time. Next thing up is the Black Moon Lilith will still be in Capricorn, so the 10th house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time for Aries, well, this could be about perhaps having to where it could be an unveiling or revelation of a ruthless, tyrannical, overambitious, and callous perhaps supervisor, somebody in authority. It could be the dominant parent, which is often the father. And also, too, this could be, when you're talking about the Black Moon Lilith, this could be about a revelation of a formidable adversary. In this case, it could be somebody that is a Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or simply somebody that embodies those characteristics. It could be someone that's prominent in your career, could be the dominant parent, and it could, which is often the father, and maybe an authority figure is possible as well. And this is a time too where a lot of times when you're talking about the Black Moon Lilith, this could be about something like that might be revealed or unveiled that you really don't want to be unveiled. And it could be something depressing or something that causes a lot of despondency that's connected with your career, and it really might, and it's something that's very limiting and restricting about it that you really don't want to come out. Or maybe this is even something about you being over ambitious and even exhibiting some of those ruthless qualities connected with your career and getting notoriety and recognition, but you don't want it to come out, but maybe it does. So anyway, Next thing up is, well, um, Chiron will be in Pisces as far as April goes from the 1st until the 16th. So the 12th house is will be emphasized and highlighted. So at this time, well, this could be for Aries about a lot of maybe private suffering that could be connected with gullibility. It really, and maybe, which is really, of course, could lead to, I mean, one's self-undoing. Maybe there is, in some cases, this could be about perhaps uh, maybe a confounding mental illness in some isolated cases. It could be matters with drugs or alcohol use, which could lead to one's self-undoing. Even really, and also dealing with chaos in one's private life as well at this time, and maybe dealing with imagined fears as well. In some cases, this could be about dealing with incarceration or imprisonment for something Pisces-like, which could be about some kind of drug resale or possession of drugs, or maybe doing drugs and or alcohol, being caught with them, out in public or something where that could be Pisces related, and it could be even being a victim, which we're doing, which really is tied in maybe with one's secret sorrows. But remember that the things that you, and maybe being overly passive can lead to one's undoing, and that could be connected with these maybe these emotional wounds and suffering that may be going on with Aries at this time. But keep in mind, though, that Chiron is the wounded healer, so in the areas that you might be having difficulty with and going through certain suffering associated with Chiron and Pisces and the 12th house, well, you may be able to help others dealing with comparable situations with that Pisces, like empathy, self-sacrifice, and compassion. Last but not least, well, Chiron is going to enter Aries on April 17th, and as far as April goes, it'll be there to the 30th, of course. So the first house is what will be emphasized and highlighted. Well, for Aries. So anyway, well, in some cases, since we're talking about the first house, and especially if it's the literal first house, this could be about actual literal physical wounds, perhaps to the head and the face. It could be dealing with more headaches than usual. There could also be some really emotional wounds and suffering, perhaps dealing maybe by being overly combative and confrontational and losing one's temper quickly, or perhaps by being overly aggressive and impulsive, or by maybe not using those qualities when they're supposed to be used, and thus maybe facing repercussions due to that. Now, the thing about, and also too, and maybe not able to capitalize on new beginnings, perhaps due to not have it, maybe not acting quickly, and also maybe dealing with someone from the early childhood that might be somewhat confrontational, or maybe not taking action in some matter with someone you knew from your early childhood, which could cause some kind of despondency or dealing with some kind of emotional wounds and suffering. But anyway, given that this is Chiron being the wounded healer once again, that whatever difficulties you may be going through with Chiron and Aries and the first house, you could help others in dealing with comparable situations, and doing so with that Aries unbridled courage, their fortitude, and by being assertive and being outspoken in the process. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my Aries April 2018 horoscope forecast. Stay tuned next time, where I'll be giving you my Taurus April 2018 horoscope forecast. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person astrologically speaking based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.